This video is sponsored by Track Club. If you want 2 months of music for your videos free, use the link down in the description. Recently, I did a video on the Atomos Shinobi 2, this monitor right here, talking about how while it's one of my favorite monitors for its size and its weight and its functionality, I was also quite disappointed in it because they said they were going to give us touch functionality for focusing, and it really fell short in the way that it worked. But Atomos just announced that they put out another firmware update for this, responding to some of those complaints from their users. So what I want to do here is install that firmware update and see if they've fixed the problem. So secure the cup and let's try it out. Now, first and foremost, let's take a look at what they've said they're giving us in this firmware update. I've got the list here: reliability improvements for touch to focus function. After the release of Atomos 11.02, which was the previous firmware update in October, we've been hard at work to improve the reliability and accuracy of the touch to focus function. All previously supported models should now support utilizing the touch to focus feature, even in AF tracking and continuous mode. Previously, the AF tracking definitely didn't work in Sony cameras, and you had to be in a spot focus mode. You couldn't be in wide focus mode, so that's what I'm really hoping they've fixed. The other thing that they've done is they've added focus compatibility to Canon R1, R5 Mark II, R7, Sony FX3, FX30, and the Nikon Z8. And they've also added some camera control support to the X-T5, X-T4, and X-T3 cameras. So now if you've got those Fujifilm cameras, you can control things like ISO, white balance, shutter speed, aperture, start and stop recording, and the shutter release for photo mode. And finally, it says they've got updated log HDR conversions for the Zcam 2, the Leica L-Log OM system, so formerly Olympus, and then the Fujifilm F-Log 2, which is the new log for Fujifilm. So that's kind of a big deal for me, adding the FX3 because I'm an FX3 user for those touch focus capabilities. I'm excited to try that out, and also improving the functionality that I had hopefully on the A7 IV before. So now that we know what we're supposed to expect, let's see if it actually lives up to the hype this time. Real quick before we move on, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Track Club. Now, there are a number of reasons why I love to get my music from Track Club, but I just want to tell you about a couple of them. First of all, the music quality is top-notch, and that is super important for me as a musician and music producer myself. I need to have good quality music, stuff that I would actually want to listen to. The next thing that I love about Track Club is just how easy it is to actually find the right music for your videos. So they've got this filter system where you can go in and you can choose a different mood, different genres, different like whether it ramps up or it stays the same the whole time. There's just so much that you can choose from on there. And they've also just introduced a new song search feature where you can plug in either a YouTube video or a Spotify link, and it will find music that sounds like the music that you already went and found. And finally, the thing that really makes Track Club stand out amongst all of these different music licensing platforms that you can choose from is something called MixLab. MixLab allows you to actually remix the song that you found right on the website and download just what you want. You could mute the vocals, you could turn down the horn section, you could turn up the drums if you want, and then you download your own remix of that song. Again, I am a huge fan of Track Club. I've been using them for a long time now, and they just make my life so much easier as a video creator. So if you want to try them out, you get 2 months for free if you use my link down in the description. Huge thank you to Track Club for sponsoring this video. Okay, so we've got the new firmware on the Shinobi 2. I've got my Sony A7 IV here, and here's the magic moment where we find out whether they actually fixed the problem or not. I'm going to turn on the Shinobi. On the A7 IV, it's asking me to put it in remote shooting mode. It takes a long time to boot up. That was one of the things that I said I didn't like so much about the Shinobi 2 in my previous video, just in case you didn't see that. So far, so good. We can get up our camera control on the bottom here so we can see all of our functionality for white balance, shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. And then up here, there's a little button that allows us to turn on our touch functionality. Previously, I would have had to have gone into my A7 IV and go to some kind of a spot mode. So I could go to either the spot or the expand spot, and then the touch would move where that is. But what we're hoping for now is that when I'm in wide focus mode, which is the mode that a lot of people use their cameras in, that when I touch on the Shinobi screen, it'll start tracking on the A7 IV. So let's go ahead and touch it. And we've got a little tracking box. And now if I shift my camera a little bit, we should see it follow. And sure enough, it is following. And if I touch on the other little character there, we've got tracking. Okay. Now we are in business. I feel like this is one of the biggest things for this monitor that it was missing previously. It almost made it kind of no different than any other monitor. And if you saw in my previous video, there were things that I could do with my phone or with my Portkeys monitors via Wi-Fi, which had its own pros and cons. But this was the thing that was kind of missing from this monitor, and now it's there. So I have a funny feeling like I'll start using this monitor a lot more now. The only downside, and this is specifically with Sony cameras, is that I can't see the actual tracking point on the monitor itself. This has to do with the fact that there's two cables. So the fact that the image is actually going via the HDMI and that all the control is happening via USB-C means that the monitor is limited to be able to show you whatever is coming out of that HDMI port. So if Sony, in this case, doesn't support being able to send the actual tracking box via HDMI, then we're not going to be able to see it. Some of the other companies, I think Canon and Panasonic, will allow you to actually send that information over HDMI. So being a primarily Sony shooter, that is definitely annoying, but I don't think that's actually on Atomos. I think that's actually on Sony for not having the right options or more options for their HDMI output, which is something that I know a lot of people have been trying to bug Sony to improve over the years. Now, that's the A7 IV, but one of the other parts of this update were the fact that this should now work with my FX3. So that's the next step to see how it functions with the FX3. So let's do a quick switch here. Okay, so I just swapped out, so I'm now filming on the A7 IV and I've got my FX3 here. We're gonna perform the exact same test and see if it works. So turning on the Shinobi 2, select my USB mode. I'm gonna choose remote shooting. We're gonna wait for the Shinobi 2 to turn on. It has detected that it is a Sony FX3. That's good. We got video trigger mode. I've got tap to focus turned on. We can go to our camera controls. The shutter speed is grayed out. You can't do shutter speed with the FX3 ever since they added shutter angle. However, when you go to the camera, I can't think of a reason why they would say speed there if they weren't planning to add angle in eventually. But what we're really here to find out, I'm gonna be in wide mode. And right now, if I touch my screen, I'm in a tracking mode, so it'll automatically track on my subject. Let's see if it does the same on the Shinobi. There it is. So we have tracking, that's working. If I touch on my other subject, it moves the tracking point over to him. And if I want to move things around on the screen, all I have to do is turn off the touch tracking with this little touch tracking button. And then I can get rid of the display and stuff like that. And that is really all I was asking for in that last video. So my wishes have come true. So there we go, Atomos has fixed it. The Shinobi 2 now has proper touch track focusing. And my previous video that I posted about this was only like 2 months ago. So like, that's pretty impressive that they could put out a firmware update that fixed those problems in just 2 months. I feel like I need something else to complain about, so they give me more. Maybe a 7-inch version next? Anyway, I'm really happy that they've done that, especially again, as a Sony shooter. I love that they've added the FX3. I'm sure there are more cameras coming. I can only imagine how much work it is to add all of the different cameras in there. So I'm sure they'll keep updating it. They seem to be putting a focus on doing those updates. So that's a really great thing to have from any tech company, really. If you haven't seen my original video, I go more in depth on kind of the pros and cons of the other functions of this monitor, as well as some alternatives if you're not into this. I'll leave a link to that original video down in the description if you want to go see it. I'll also leave a link to the Shinobi 2 if you want to go check it out further down in the description as well. And let me know down in the comments, does this change your mind about the Shinobi 2 like it does for me? Does the fact that they're fixing things and giving firmware updates give you hope in this monitor? Is it something that you would pick up? Let me know down there, and on your way down, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.